And if that spell gets loose, they're all coming here.
Look, I know, I get it, but we can't just send them home to die.
It's their fate.
Welcome back to Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy. All right, you know how we love to do our This Villain Was Right series? Well, today, let's do something a little different. This time, we're going to talk about why Spider-Man was wrong.
I'm sorry, what?
No Way Home was a great movie, but Peter's decisions in the film raise some really fascinating questions about morality and philosophy. Peter makes a lot of reckless choices in the movie, from trying to erase the world's memories so he can get into college, to risking the fate of the multiverse so he could save 5 villains. Everything escalated to the point where reality was almost destroyed. And in the end, Peter lost May, and his existence was completely erased from everyone's memory. And it's all because of Peter's emotional and careless choices.
I mean, when you put it like that.
What is the true meaning of great responsibility and the price of morality that comes at the expense of objectivity? Let's unpack it all and explore why Spider-Man was wrong.
This all seems like big time, huge superhero kind of stuff. And, I mean, I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, sir.
Bitch, please, you've been to space.
After being framed and his secret identity was revealed by Mysterio, Peter's life became impossible. The public turned on him, and he lost any semblance of privacy. Even worse, his loved ones suffered because of him. All of this leads Peter to asking Doctor Strange to cast a spell that will erase the world's memory that he is Spider-Man. And there is so much wrong with this choice, even before we get into the meat of the movie, which is the multiversal crisis. The moral implications of wiping the world's memory are so questionable. Peter is basically asking if he can brainwash the whole planet, erase weeks and months from people's memories. The event he wants to delete is just too big, because everyone in the world experienced it, and there must be serious consequences for tampering with the memories of so many people. Not to mention how easily Peter decides to rob billions of people of their free will on top of their memories.
When Mysterio revealed my identity, my entire life got screwed up. I was wondering if maybe you could make it so that he never did.
At no point does Peter ask if he even has the right to do such a thing to the whole planet, nor does he consider the ramifications of the spell, or the price of such magic, or how it will influence the planet. Stephen also shares much of the blame for deciding to perform the spell to begin with.
Don't cast that spell. It's too dangerous. Fine. I won't.
Which is a gross misuse of his magical abilities. And at some point, we're probably going to do a separate video about that. But for this one, let's just stay on Peter.
Right, of course. Yeah, my bad, silly. Yeah.
And let's not forget, he originally went to Strange so he could use the Time Stone, one of the most powerful artifacts in all of existence. He wanted to use that universally powerful mind-bending MacGuffin to get into college.
Look up idiot in the dictionary. You know what you'll find?
Picture me?
No! The definition of the word idiot, which you f***ing are.
Stephen says it best. Peter didn't even think to plead his case to the admissions committee before asking Stephen Strange to brainwash the world. It speaks volumes about Peter's negligence. Peter had so many other options before resorting to Men in Blacking the whole world. He could have found ways to change the public's opinions, and I'm sure there were many other ways to get into MIT. When you think about it, Peter's very privileged, having a lot of connections and tools at his disposal to make this terrible situation much better for himself. And yet, Peter ended up acting like some entitled brat who believes that he's so important and special that he needed a magical spell to fix all of his problems.
See, this generation doesn't even understand half the shit that they're saying. They aren't more ethical than us. They just want to be perceived as such.
This also makes him very hypocritical considering his choices later in the movie.
Hey person, do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Actually, yeah, I want to start investing more money.
But isn't that only for fancy Wall Street guys like the Wally of Wolf Street or Patrick Bateman?
Actually, Doug, the world of investing can be pretty intimidating, but that's where Acorns comes in. They're the sponsor of this video. Acorns helps you to start investing your money. They make it easy to save and invest every day, starting with just your spare change. To start, use my link in the description to set up with Acorns, which takes about 5 minutes, and then you can begin investing with as little as $5. So here's how it works. Acorns invests your spare change with Acorns Roundup. Anytime you spend, Acorns rounds up your purchase to the nearest dollar. And once you hit $5, it transfers that amount from your linked bank account and invests it for you. So every purchase you make, popcorn, Blu-rays, dog treats, All of that is rounded up and invested in a custom portfolio that experts manage for you. Essentially, you just set it up and Acorns does all the work. You barely notice it, and over time, it can really grow. It's super easy to use and requires absolutely no experience on how to work it. It's a way to, as Obi-Wan put it,
taking your first step into a larger world.
So, if you want to take the guesswork out of investing, go to our link in the description to set up an account and get a $10 bonus investment. T&Cs apply.
When Mysterio revealed my identity, my entire life got screwed up. I was wondering if maybe you could make it so that he never did.
True, there was no way to undo his unmasking other than the spell, but that's part of life. People don't just get to hit the reset button every time something bad happens to them. We all must deal with the curveballs that life throws at us. Part of life is learning how to live with these things.
The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
Now, I don't want to victim blame Peter here because this is a terrible thing that happened to him. And it's unfair that he and his loved ones had to pay the price for Quentin Beck's actions. But in the end, choices are the thing that defines people the most. And Peter made some really bad choices in No Way Home. And this brings us to Peter's next terrible decision. When he learns that all the villains from the other universes are destined to die, he decides to help them. And that's despite Doctor Strange making it utterly clear that the very existence of these villains is threatening the fabric of reality.
There has to be another way!
There isn't. They're a danger to our universe.
Peter is willing to risk the lives of billions, nay, trillions of people just to save the lives of 5 bad guys. Peter believes that it's unethical to send these villains back to die, ignoring their predetermined destiny because sending them back to die is just as bad as killing them himself. He values human life higher than anything else.
Look, when you can do the things that I can, but you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of you.
So he must do something, and maybe if all the villains are cured of their crazy, they might be able to change their own fates. Peter has proven in the past that he's willing to go to great lengths to do the right thing, like when he risked his own life to save Adrian Toomes, despite the fact that the villain had just tried to kill him. And that's one of the reasons why Spider-Man is such a great hero, maybe even the greatest.
With great power comes great responsibility.
But Peter failed to recognize that the circumstances of the villains are completely different. This isn't about ethics, this is about objectivity. Strange makes it vividly clear that the villain's presence is threatening reality, and any more messing around is going to tear the universe apart. This is precisely what almost happens later in the movie, but Peter makes decisions based on emotions. That's why he has such a strong moral compass. The thing about emotions is they can be like a two-way street because at times they can cause impulsiveness as well as not thinking everything through.
Stark gave you a multi-billion-dollar AR tactical intelligence system, and the first thing you do with it is try and blow up your friends.
5 minutes later.
I'd like to transfer your control over to Quentin Beck.
Peter has no real understanding of how the multiverse works, so he lacks objectivity. Yet he acts as if his own personal morality justifies his dangerous irresponsibility. But Peter isn't a fool. He still gets that he's playing with fire, and that means that he's willingly putting the universe in peril. Peter believes that there can't be a compromise between the needs of the many and the needs of the few. In contrast, Strange's position is that in the grand calculus of the multiverse, the deaths of the villains mean infinitely more than their lives.
Logic clearly dictates that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Because of Strange's stance, Peter sees him as the immoral side of the story. Peter decides to go against Strange and even trap him in the mirror dimension so he can't prevent Peter from helping the villains. Let me say it again. Peter decides to imprison the one person that can save the universe just to help 5 people, which puts billions at risk. Think about that for a moment.
What if somebody had died tonight? Different story, right? Because that's on you.
Peter also never stops to consider the ramifications of curing the villains. What if the terms of the spell won't allow these villains' destinies to be altered? He does not understand how magic and the multiverse work. Messing with space-time is never a good idea, and for all he knows, curing the villains is going to make things far worse.
You're risking the universe. You cannot reverse an absolute point.
Peter once again proves his negligence by not exploring all the options in front of him, refusing to listen to logic and understand the situation, just like he did when he asked Strange to cast the spell without first understanding its ramifications. Peter never questions if his actions are actually moral. Is it truly moral for one teenager to make decisions that affect trillions of lives? Decisions that, if they go terribly wrong, could snuff out all of those lives in an instant.
This is too much power for one person.
The irony here is that the Green Goblin sees himself and the other villains and even Spider-Man as gods among men. That god complex allows him to justify his choices in the most warped ways. Same as Peter justifying his decisions with morality.
It's a little bit harsh.
And I mean, there was a certain purple dude with a serious god complex that also thought his actions were justified because of his morality. I'm just saying. Thanos was right.
I am inevitable.
Morality can many times be a matter of point of view. Objectivity isn't determined by biased opinions and sentiment. It's based on facts, pure, indisputable truth. And the objective facts are as follows.
A.
The villain's existence in the universe puts it at risk.
B.
The villains must be sent back to their timelines before their presence will tear the fabric of reality. If the cube is tampered with or destroyed, the botched spell will be unleashed and space-time will shatter. These facts cannot be denied.
Now on this issue there can be no debate.
Doctor Strange's responsibility is protecting reality. And as he explained in Infinity War, he's willing to make the tough calls.
If it comes to saving you, or the kid, or the time stone, I will not hesitate to let either of you die. Because the universe depends on it.
Now granted, they wouldn't even be in this mess if Strange didn't perform that spell in the first place. But let's give Peter the benefit of the doubt, and for a moment say that it's worth risking reality to save these 5 villains. At the end of the movie, the 3 Spider-Men cure the villains. But what happens next? The last thing all these villains remember is the final moment of their lives. So are they going back to those exact moments? Will Norman Osborn find himself back in his timeline seconds away from being impaled by his own glider?
Oh.
We don't know, just as Peter doesn't know. So once again, Peter's emotional decisions are not informed. But let's say the villains don't immediately die upon return to their own realities. Peter still refuses to consider the ramifications of all the branched timelines that he has created. As we discussed in this video, the returning villains will alter their timelines in the most unexpected ways. One change to the timeline will impact everything that follows. What if the return of all these villains is going to change the timeline so drastically that other people will die instead? Where's the morality there? And it's likely 5 different new branching timelines, because Doc Ock, Norman Osborn, and Sandman will return to 3 different timelines. And the Green Goblin and Doc Ock's timeline will still be dead.
If you travel to the past, that past becomes your future, and your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future.
Unless they all return to the same universe, which surely is going to destabilize the timeline to the point that it might be destroyed.
Stepping off your path created a nexus event, which left unchecked could branch off into madness.
All of this means that Peter isn't just willing to risk his own universe, he's risking multiple others. And when you think about it, the other 2 Spider-Men are also wrong for not considering how their universe would be affected by all of these changes. Not to mention that Peter was going to kill the Green Goblin, potentially making things even worse, because who knows how that would have impacted the already fractured timelines. But in the end, the question remains, was it all worth it?
What did it cost?
Everything.
The universe was almost destroyed because of Peter's decisions. He paid a heavy price for his choices. Aunt May died, and now no one even remembers him, even MJ and Ned. It's as if Peter Parker never existed. We keep talking about Peter Parker. Who the f is that?
Hi, I'm Peter Parker.
Who? In Peter's defense, he makes the ultimate choice of sacrifice at the end of the movie, where he tells Strange to cast a spell that will erase the memory of his existence. We already spoke about the moral implications of such a spell, but at the very least, in the end, Peter was willing to make a hard call that cost him his loved ones, and it saved all of reality. So I guess you do get perspective when you see the universe being torn apart. Of course, no one's perfect, and even the best of heroes make mistakes. And the main point of No Way Home was to teach Peter the lesson of the responsibility that comes with his great power.
That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
And that's the thing about great power and responsibility. When the choices of these heroes influence the whole world, and even the multiverse, they must be upheld to a higher standard. And remember, the universe might have been saved, but the ramifications of No Way Home have broken something in the fabric of reality. The other timelines were most certainly altered, not to mention the memory spell that will surely come with a far greater price.
Your desecration of reality will not go unpunished.
In the end, Spider-Man was wrong. But what do you think about all this? Was Peter wrong to put the universe at such a risk, or did he do the right thing? What other heroes do you think were wrong? Let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.